Hey everybody. I gather I'm live and that there's about 30 of you in the chat. Can you hear me and see me okay? Also, does the chat work? Is anything working? Ah, there we go. It does seem like there's a delay of, I think I tried this before, and there's maybe 20-second delay between, the round trip between me and you. So, hey everybody. Wow, there's just like one too many things for me to watch here as I'm trying to. So you can ask questions in Piazza, which is the one too many things for me to watch. But yeah, you're welcome to ask questions in Piazza or in the YouTube chat if you got them. Hopefully I can keep track of those two things. So, oh, and I guess maybe the other thing I should say is my connection is generally good. My cable modem does occasionally just take a little break. So if I disappear, I guess I'll come back. That being said, where are we here? Yep, definitely need a third monitor for this. Okay. So, I mean, I guess I said this was like a generic Q&A. There's obviously a quiz coming. Like, obviously you guys have some idea what you might want to ask about. And of course, it might be these functional programming topics. So yeah, once again, if you have questions, go ahead in the Piazza or in the YouTube chat. I will do my best to keep my eye on those. But until then, I don't know. Like, I guess I'll give my sort of quick, like, here's what I think we did in this first third of the course, where not all thirds are created equal. And by the way, and I guess I've said this in lecture too, like, the timing is, like, I think if this is a third of the course, it takes about a third of the course probably to deliver the lecture, and I've given a little longer in the exercises just so you have time to kind of like get used to that. I like work with Haskell a little more, which means that I'm out of sync with you in terms of assignments and whatnot. So yes, the Travis, it's those chunks are the functional programming parts, the sort of 2, 3, and 4. I guess 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like, I guess I did kind of do some nominally course material here in the introduction, just imperative versus declarative, but really 2, 3, and 4 mostly. So yeah, timing of the quiz will be 30 minutes. I think that's probably the best way to do this, and I think given that note in Piazza, like Compute 300 has a quiz midterm right before us, I think, like, I don't want to go to another day. That's unfair to people who have been studying and sort of preparing for this timing. But I am going to go like the end of the class 30 minutes. So from like what is that? Is it 2:50 to 3:30 or whatever that is? So the final 30 minutes in the lecture time will be the quiz. I think that's about as best I can do. Like, those coming out of another quiz at least have a little bit of time to get their head straight, and before we get there, I don't want to go to another day. That's just, it's too big a disruption for just the timing of it all. The overall quiz format. No lecture up to the point of the quiz. Like, you get 20 minutes off. Feel free to spend that time panicking or whatever you do. So the overall format of the quiz, I guess, yes, similar to 353, although that's not really a very fair summary for everybody. So there'll be, oh God, I'd like to tell you that I'm a really good person and I've totally got it ready, and I just have to click a button and it's good to go. But here's what I think, like, it's pretty close. There'll be some sort of shorter questions. Again, a couple of multiple choice or like, fill in the blank kind of length questions, and then a couple of write a function that kind of longer questions. So, I'm obviously going to try to be mindful of the time. Like, I think 30 minutes is short. It's not that short. So obviously I'll try to, kind of trim the difficulty for that. No, so Tian, there will be a fixed start and end time. And again, like, you would think I would know my own calendar by now, right? But my phone just bings when there's a lecture. I don't need to remember. Yeah, so the lecture is 2:30. So yeah, the quiz will be 2:50 to 3:20. What else we got here? So yeah, I mean, the overall sort of flow of things here is, oh, right. Oh, sorry. Two of you have asked about types. So basically, you don't have to write a type unless I ask you to. So I might say in a question, like, write this function and also explicitly give a type. If I don't ask for it, you don't have to. The programming questions will be certainly exercise level difficulty. It's hard. Yeah, I think so. Like, I think probably the exercise question is a pretty good, guess of difficulty. I mean, keep in mind, when you were doing the exercise questions, you were coming across to these things for the first time, right? Like, obviously the exercises took you longer because you'd never done a tail recursion thing, or you've just never done a Haskell thing or a fold or whatever before. Hopefully it goes faster now that you've had some practice at that. And of course, in assignment 1 as well. So yeah, the sort of overall sort of story arc here, specifically in Haskell, is like, I think, well, kind of up to here, like these first 10 or so subtopics are just basically Haskell, right? Like, here's how you work with this language given the restrictions you have. And then a little bit of tail recursion. But yeah, like, isn't strictly speaking Haskell. Like, other languages, you can have the concept of tail recursion. Non-functional languages, you can have the concept of tail recursion. But it's a good spot for it, especially in a language where it's just more central to do that kind of thing. Sorry, Gavin, I will come back to you. I just since as I'm talking here, I might as well finish my thought. So the sort of types and stuff section here, is that a good? I'll go a little bigger font size. Is a little bit more of the sort of weirdness of Haskell. So again, types. This is where we start to see that 2 colons operator to declare a type explicitly. And I said in there, by the way, I said, like, oh, sometimes it's better to declare your type because you get a better error message. I literally did that today. Like, I was playing around with a function that frankly may or may not go on your quiz. I have no idea, but I had done something stupid and I added the type explicitly, and then I realized what I was doing that was stupid. Yeah, this sort of first class functions and like how functions work in Haskell. Again, interesting, different in Haskell than other languages. Sorry, a couple questions there. So yeah, for 30 minutes, how many questions do you have? I think the answer to how many questions that you probably care about, I think, is 2 questions where you have to write a function. Like, a couple of shorter answer questions, but the ones where you're actually sort of writing code, I'm pretty sure that number is going to be 2. And so the way that the courses will work, the courses quizzes work, and again, like, I know I have to orient my answer in terms of other things that you might have done. So it's not the sort of, you see a question and you have to answer it and move on to the next one style. You see all the questions. So there's an honor code that you have to say, yes, I promise not to cheat. Of course you promise not to cheat, but let's remind you anyway. Once you say yes to that, you'll see the quiz. You can answer the things. Again, you can submit more than once. So do that. Like, this is my advice here. Don't just wait until 8 seconds before the end of the quiz and then click submit for the first time and realize your internet went down or whatever, you can answer a couple questions, click submit, and keep working with no danger. When you submit, the sort of photo verification is on, so you can try that on that instructions page I sent around, just to make sure your webcam is set up properly. This is just, I think the reason is fairly obvious. It's, we want to have some idea of who is sitting in front of the computer. Obviously it's not perfect and it's not like completely foolproof, but better than nothing, and please don't cheat. That photo, taking the photo does seem to be the thing that catches people up on the technical side the most. There is a disable photo verification button there that if you really just your webcam chose this moment to not work or whatever, you can click it, it'll skip that. I might email you and say, hey, why was your thing working? And you can promise me it was you and we'll figure that out. Yeah, Actoro, this is a funny thing for me. I don't know where this instruction came from. Obviously there's some, I don't know, courses or quiz system or whatever where they want you to with your ID photo. No. If you want to, I guess. It does seem like some people have just carried that instruction over from some other system. No, we have your ID photo. We have that thing that's on your student card. You all look very good in it, don't worry. But yeah, we can compare against that. So yeah, the quizzes are saved automatically. Every approximately 10 minutes, the quiz page does save itself. So again, just to try to mitigate people's connection problems or whatever. One implication there, by the way, is if you have 2 browser tabs open with the quiz, you can have the tab you haven't looked at that's all blank autosave over top of your real answers. So we can find that. It does keep the full history, but probably you don't want that. Don't have the blank tab open. Amazon? Really? This is the best Amazon has? Is doesn't Amazon already know who you are and what you buy and everything else? The whole family, not just you. I'm sure your mom is very supportive or whatever, but she doesn't need to be in the picture. What did I miss there? Right. Oh, I half answered Andy's question. You submit Haskell code. So it's basically, there's a text box, right? A text area HTML thing with syntax highlighting, because we love you. So you can write that in an editor and of course copy it over if you want, but fundamentally you're writing a little, fragment of a .hs file. One thing I guess I would caution, again, that that higher risk strategy of do all your work over here in this window and then at the last moment copy it over. Copy one question at a time at least, so maybe the autosave will catch it again if the network dies or whatever. Can you tab in the HTML blocks? I don't know. I don't use tabs very much. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure spacing will be fine. Yeah, the syntax highlighting is with, oh God, I forget what it's called. It's some JavaScript syntax highlighter editor dealy. It seems to work just fine. So yeah, the Actoro, if you do something stupid, you'll fail that question. This is the unsatisfying thing about a short quiz, or frankly, just having less. So remember, this quiz is not worth a huge amount, right? It's worth 7%. And I know it is the difference. If, 0 or 100 is a big difference, but hopefully one question isn't a, total make or break in the course. I am mindful of that in some sense, more questions is better because you have a sort of, I have frankly just a larger sample size on what you know and don't know, or can do and can't do. But at the other side, more questions takes longer, and I don't want it to truly be a race. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I say 8% like it's a small number, and you may disagree with me. That's fine. Do you need to pass the quiz to pass the class? I don't remember if I said anything about that. Let me just look at the old introduction here. I did. Oh, I did say something about that, didn't I? In the here. Where is it? There. Whatever that says, that's what I expect. So, yeah, like I will point out cautiously, I specifically didn't say in there on this slide, like pass equals exactly 50%. Like if the overall these quizzes are too hard or too easy, well, let's just worry about too hard. If everybody's mark is low, I'm not going to fail everybody. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so yeah, a little balance there between, that slightly more immediately demonstrated skill and that bigger assignment style of demonstration that you know what you're doing. Kind of want both of those. Don't panic, Colin. You'll be fine. I have faith in you. Having no idea what marks you've been getting up to this point in the course and not being able to say here, even if I did, but you'll be fine. So did I finish? I don't remember if I finished. Let's see here. No, I didn't. So yeah, there's sort of how does Haskell deal with types of things, and in particular, functions being one of the interesting things, dealing with lists being at least common, just because list is the important built-in data structure. The short answer questions, it might be concepts from the lecture notes, might be sort of very short, like, I don't know, code. Like, I guess I could ask what's the, here's a function, give a good type declaration for it. That's a kind of quick one-liner. So questions that aren't on the slides, but that I talked about. I mean, I don't think that when I go off on a rambling tangent, that's the sort of more important thing that isn't on the slides would be things you did in the exercise, right? So, in the exercise we made you do, what do we make you do? I guess I talked about most of those things, but you used fold, you used map and filter, you had to do a tail recursion, you had to those things that maybe, again, there were details, I guess, in the exercises that weren't explicit in the lecture. I do expect you to have done the exercises. Assuming you're competent, how long do you expect it to take to finish the quiz? That's a good question. And if I had completely made up the quiz and had it ready to go, I would be able to answer it much better. I think, I think my goal here, I think I can talk about my goal. My goal is hey, I want the time to be relatively full, frankly, just on the basis that I think it takes longer to cheat than to write down an answer that you have in your brain. So I don't want to give you extra time that you can use to find the thing in, 7 levels deep in Stack Overflow, or communicate with your friend or whatever. I want to tighten up the time enough that that's hard, but not so much that it's a race. So I would hope that, if you are on the ball, it's 20 minutes or so. I think that's the kind of target I'm looking for. Oh, Vafa, good point. Things like the speed tests in different languages. I think those are there for context. Certainly for this part of the course, those are there to sort of highlight, look, this is a good or a bad. Things like the tail recursion examples. Not that that specific example is in any way interesting, or the details of it's 3% faster or whatever it was. That's not interesting. What's interesting is that this technique helped the speed, and because of this, right? Because of this context, or because the function was this way, or whatever. Colin, I don't know what speed bouldering is, unless it's running across boulders quickly, in which case maybe y'all are having a different conversation than me. So the this next part of the course at least started with And again, by the way, there's like the 20-second delay between us here, so don't I can't be as interactive as you might like. So these things that were like lazy evaluation kind of things. Again, like I think that's an interesting part about Haskell. It's hard. I've been trying to figure out a way to ask you about lazy evaluation. I guess I certainly can ask questions about dealing with it. I could say something about a function and demand that you fix some laziness or something, like using the dollar exclamation mark or seek or something. I guess I could ask that. So monads, I've had this like crisis of faith. Like I wish, and this is not your problem because it's a future wish. Like I wish I'd asked you more stuff about monads and the exercises. Like I kind of wish I'd made you get your hands dirty and fight with monads a little more just to see how they work, but I didn't. So it's very hard for me to ask anything that's not like kind of trivial about the monads. And then the rest of this is kind of context. Yeah, like again, it's hard to come up with a really concrete question for me to ask sort of down these paths. I guess I could ask you to like some kind of explain why, or why would we? Okay, sorry, I saw the chat move there. Does the language implementation? No. So yeah, just the functional programming part. So yeah, Bogdan, the 30 minutes is like to submit. Like click that submit button. So basically, every time you click the submit button, like you scroll down to the bottom. There's the like look at the webcam, click, and then click submit. If your webcam is working, that takes like 2 seconds, but yeah, you should get that. There's a little grace period there, just so you don't get caught off on some kind of like your clock and my clock or different problem, but or like network delay. But do get it done in like 30 minutes or so. I guess the other thing just again tip for this, like make sure your webcam works on that instruction page, and then again, like as you submit, like you can scroll down, take the photo, and then scroll back up and keep working. That's totally fine, right? You don't have to do the like answer questions, take photo, then click submit order. How do you define pure in Haskell? Should we cite in our solutions? That's a tricky question because I don't think you should have a source. Like I have refined the academic, like I kind of decided open book is a way to go just because it's so hard to ask for anything else and police it. But I did say you can't copy solutions from somewhere else. So it's very hard to ask you to cite because there kind of shouldn't be anything to cite. Like you should be writing this code on your own. And I also have a little faith in me that like if you could just go to another browser tab and type like Haskell thing the question is about and find an answer, I did that. Like I've already done that. You're not going to find an answer that way. Now, Gavin, the lecture notes are as they are. There's a web page. You can convert that to a PDF if you want. How do I define pure in Haskell? Thanks, Jen. Okay, so there's the concept of pure function in Haskell, which is, again, it's arguments go in, return value comes out, basically no other interaction with the outside world. I've also a few times used the word, like I've said Haskell is purely functional or something like that. And that's more of a like descriptor. It's not really a term. It's more like whatever functional programming is, Haskell has a lot of it. Whatever the opposite is, Haskell doesn't do that. Like that's what I meant by sort of purely like Haskell is purely functional or is a pure functional language or something. Yeah. Okay, this is off topic, but I, I just added, I just saw it here. I added an example on this like SIMD operations over the weekend. And again, if you have questions, feel free to stop me. But I was talking to somebody about this, like somebody who is a developer in the game industry. It's like, oh, what do you think about structive arrays versus array of structs? And I said, what? Oh, obviously, you're structive arrays. Like, what? Why are we talking about this? And anyway, I realized I needed a nice concrete example here that I have not actually sent to him. But again, it's, do I create an array of struct or class versus do I create a struct or class with arrays in it? And it turns out, like, depending on your details, at least for this example, it's like a couple of times speed up. And I almost like, I kind of want to shop this around on different processors because I think it does depend on the processor architecture, but the full code is there. Anyway, that's off topic. What else should I talk about here? What do I want you to get out of the first third? I feel like I talked about that. Sort of, I probably bookended with that. That sounds like me. But yeah, these last couple topics here and the first here, I think, and I do genuinely believe this. It's not just like me insanely motivating, wasting 4 weeks of your life or whatever. I do genuinely think that learning, a functional language or like Haskell or something, I think you're forced to think about your code a little bit differently. Again, like controlling your side effects, for example. What kind of outside state do I look at or manipulate? And it's not there, you all of a sudden have to notice that. And I think it does genuinely make you a better programmer having to think about that. And it opens up that world of like distributed tools all of a sudden become much easier. Like something like Spark or Celery that are broadly used, can scale out across a bunch of computers. All of a sudden are much easier. I can't disagree with Arcturo there. Yeah, like in some ways these languages are beautiful. Like Haskell is awesome, everything is perfect, but yeah, the real world is imperfect. I'm with you on that one. So yeah, why do I think functional languages aren't as popular? Because sometimes they suck. Like if all you want to do with your programming language is like this simple function, take some arguments, return a value, then that's really awesome and you can do that. But you guys know full well that's not every program. Like, and for that matter, sometimes you do want to control the flow of you don't want that imperative control of the way your logic runs because you're just trying to do something in the right order or whatever. Again, like talking to this friend in the gaming industry, like you don't want to deal with the like lazy evaluation and like, oh, sometimes this happens and sometimes that happens, or I'm not really sure how this is going to be computed. That is impractical sometimes. And sometimes you want to have side effects because it's just stupid to not. Something like the random number generator. That generating random numbers in Haskell was a friggin' nightmare because, well, we have a state. Like there's this unavoidable state of a random number generator, which is what's the current random seed, basically. So if you have state like that to manage, it doesn't fit well in this language. And yeah, random values are nice. But I suspect you fought with that, some of you at least, the end of assignment 1 where like that, generate a bunch of random things and then test to see like what fraction are right. That's yeah, like all of a sudden you're in a monad and I gave you the code for it, but still I did get the sense a few people were fighting with it from questions. Yeah, like I hope, like, it's part of the goal of like assignment 1 is it's something that's not perfect. Like there are things that are like, oh, this fits the paradigm perfectly. This is exactly the kind of problem Haskell is meant to solve. And then there's the other stuff. And yeah, sometimes it's other stuff. And I tried to ride the line a little bit there of the rainbow tables are nice in Haskell, but maybe not perfect. Maybe you got some sense that way. By the way, but at the same time, the there's a real beauty there. Like the more I think about this problem in this language, like something like find password can be a, like just kind of almost a map operation of like for every row, if it looks like it might be there, go through the row. And as long as you don't do the stupid thing and completely recompute the table, I think it can be very, very simple if you use the lazy evaluation to your advantage. Because yeah, you can say like, oh, find everything in a list and then just take the first thing out of that list. Lazy evaluation will take care of not doing extra work that way. So how are we doing here? Given that I'm not going to, completely give away anything on the assignment or then the quiz, sorry. I guess there's nothing to give away in the assignment. For assignment 2, have I approved any additional languages? A few people asked about Kotlin, which I said yes to. And I think I said in the Piazza chat there, my rationale in assignment 2 is I wanted languages like, frankly, I'm trying to make you learn something. I know that's an uncomfortable thing sometimes, but and I think I explicitly added closure here. I didn't have any Lisp-like language, so I added that. But yeah, my goal is languages that you don't already know. I do want you to learn something as part of this assignment, but not languages that are so weird they're useless. Like I could just pick some completely esoteric programming languages that nobody's ever heard of and there's no documentation on. That's kind of not what I want either. Like I think these are, if not practical languages, at least interesting. They are used for real work, if not broadly so. So yes, that's true. So Gavin, yeah, we're done with Haskell, and after the quiz, the Haskell stuff explicitly is not getting tested anymore. Yeah, and I miss having a final exam for that. Like, I do think there's some value just in terms of making you learn stuff to have you, frankly, have to encounter it again in a couple months. Like having that, like you have a test now and then you have a test like later on the same topic, I think probably does fit it into your brain a little bit more permanently, but not the design we got. Teaching how to Google. Julia's for girls. Of course it is, and it's also for guys. Yeah, it's funny. Like as I look at this, like it's completely obvious to me when I look at this list of languages which one I would choose. Like there's absolutely no question. I know which one I would like. I know. Sorry, now I'm now up to 3. There's 3 of these that I would definitely like to sort of have more experience in, and I would choose. But yeah, you have your own interests and whatever. Why not? Yeah, so for me, the 3 that I would like just personally, and obviously my interests are not the same as yours, but they are Erlang, just because it's so wacky. It's kind of functional, designed by Ericsson for like mobile phone switches. And like, for example, one of the things that Erlang can do is update the code without ever stopping. So like you can have code that's like answering phone calls or like routing phone calls in a switch, and you can upgrade your switch without dropping a call. That's I don't know any other language that has that sort of hot swap code in kind of behavior. And I've never done it. I don't know if it's normal thing that Erlang programmers do or not. Rust, certainly, like the ownership, like that explicit ownership of things in Rust is super cool. It's an infuriating language to work in, but I think there's some benefit there. And just things like having all that stuff done at compile time. So like there's no garbage collector. It's really fast. But it knows when to free because you've told it so much about what you're doing. Yeah, Travis, it's like the like hot swapping a Linux kernel, which I guess in theory is possible. But again, I've never done it. That like that code can kind of be running but also be updated at the same time. Like it's a little more obvious in the case of like server code where it's like as requests come in, handle them. Okay, so like you have 1,000 requests that have come in. Now you've decided I need to update my code. Okay, well, request 1001 is handled by the new code. And if you just have some infrastructure for that, no problem. And yeah, so Rust, very cool. The other one, Scala for me, Scala just because the Spark is implemented in it. The Spark big data tool, its primary implementation language is Scala. It compiles to the JVM and has therefore that run anywhere kind of vibe. That's interesting, and I would like to know more Scala just because of Spark. Like just because I think I would be a better Spark developer or Spark instructor, I guess, if my Scala was better. That being said, like yeah, Clojure, Julia, OCaml, all on this list. They're on the list for a reason. They're on the list because I think they're interesting. And I also think they're just obscure enough that there's a low probability that you already know one of them and can just ride off that. And it's also why I said, like, I forget what they were in the Piazza discussion. Couple that I said no to were on the, I don't remember if they were private questions or public, but a couple I said no to were like, nah, you just already know that one and you're trying to take the easy way out. Yeah, I don't buy it. All right, what do we got here? All right. Any other questions about the quiz, course, whatever? This live streaming business is high stress, man. Like it's funny. It's not like I'm nervous about a Zoom call. But in some way this is just the same, right? Like it's just I'm talking kind of live to other people, but it's weird when it's a stream. It feels like I'm somehow committing this to the archives. Akash, I don't remember what Swift is. Ask in Piazza. I can answer it there. You've used Julia in who uses Julia in 276? Oh wait, it's Racket? I'd think about Racket too. I'd have to refresh my memory. I do think it is in that interesting category. Which one's Swift? Oh, right. Swift is the Apple language. Sorry, somehow like these like use it in my domain programming languages just fall out of my head all the time. I'd probably say no to Swift. Just it's like a little too practical. Yeah, Carol, Switlicky. That's. I guess I kind of did know that. I probably should have taken Julia off the list on that basis, but it's too late now. There you go. You've penalized the students next semester. They won't get to choose from Julia now that you've pointed that out. Is Julia the one? Julia's like. Fancy Objective-C. Python 4. Yeah. Feel free to submit your copy of Python 4. Is it really? Like, I thought there was weird there. I'm trying to remember what the weirdness is in Julia. Is it like super friendly but also super performant or something like that? Like I forget off the top of my head. This is by the way, this is a weirdly stressful course to teach that way. Like, I feel like in some sense, I have to have every programming language in my head at all times so I can intelligently like discuss and answer questions about them. Julia was still in beta. But Julia is not a new language. Like, calling it in beta seems like a stretch. Yeah, like there's stable releases of it. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to. I mean, I'm happy to get dragged off on a tangent talking about Julia while I read its Wikipedia page behind the scenes, but yeah, good performance approaching that of statically typed languages like C. So says Wikipedia. Who knows? Call Python functions, call C functions directly. Huh. Oh yeah, designed for parallel and distributed. Right. Yeah. This is what I remember. It's designed to be kind of a like a scientific programming language, right? Like for not necessarily expert programmers, but not necessarily expert programmers that want some performance. Like that is the thought I have in my head about how it works. And oh, coroutines are green threaded. I can add that to my slides. Usually coroutines are implicitly, like in most languages, are not concurrent. Again, according to one thing in Wikipedia, they're threaded. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. When was the? Okay, so the stable release of Julia actually came after the class. Interesting. Because I've had it on this list for a while. Like I last taught this course like 2 years ago, and it was on the list for assignment 2 then. I'm surprised it hasn't been stable before that. Yeah, the 4-page, like for assignment 2, where I said 4 pages. I mean, it kind of depends how you write. Like, it's so hard to give any length like this, because if you are super brief in your writing style and you say a lot of things very compactly, I don't see why you couldn't get a good mark off a less than 4-page report. But you should have some stuff to say. It should probably take up around 4 pages. So yeah, Actoro, I'm gonna go 250 sharp for the quiz start. So 250 to 320 period, basically. So yeah, you're all writing it synchronously and at the same time. Other than, I guess there's probably a couple students at Center for Accessible Learning, although I haven't heard from them. And I actually have no idea how that works in the current world. Maybe I will, just as we're looking here, like to kind of have a look at the schedule. I will point out, we're here, right? Like we're in this, like, well, okay, actually we're here. Assignment 1 was technically due at the start of week 8. But the due dates kind of pile up here. You had more time, relatively speaking, for assignment 1 because, again, like I wanted to give you time to get used to that different paradigm. Assignments 2 and 3 stack up much quicker here. So yeah, assignment 2 you've looked at, I suspect. Assignment 3 is in Go, which, okay, well, I just started talking about in the sense that I just recorded those lectures for week 9. And then, like, well, frankly, we get to the end of the course pretty quickly in like 2-3 week chunks. There's a couple weeks here where you do get an exercise off. Really, this week there's no exercise due? Huh. Cool. That was nice of me. Yeah, exercise 7 is basically the like warm up for assignment 2. And then Go is a language that is much more like familiar in the, it's an imperative language. It has variables and loops and stuff. So I don't think it takes quite the same amount of time to sort of get your head around. So yeah, that's released soon. I might back that up, actually. I might bring that a little sooner, but it's blockchains. It's well, I picked a buzzword out of a hat, and it was blockchain. But again, it was something that I think it fits Go pretty well. If I want to fit go perfectly, I would have chosen write a server, like write something that responds to HTTP requests or something. That's kind of what the design of the language is pointing towards, of like request comes in, fork off a handler for it into a separate thread. I chose something a little bit different, and it does have a slightly, it does feel a little bit like a mismatch. Yeah, I mean, you develop blockchains the same way you developed rainbow tables in assignment 1. It's a good example. The highlights are there, but it's not quite all the details. Yeah, Andy, sorry, I said that I haven't emailed. I will email the class. Basically, what, like, I'll probably do it like tomorrow early, just once I've fully decided, and I can say like, okay, well, here's how many questions there are. Like, I have that detail too. But yeah, I'm gonna go 250 to 320 just to give those Compute 300 students a little time to regroup after their quiz there. Yeah, I'll fix that, Andy. As an aside, by the way, again, if you've got questions, I totally forgot Piazza existed, but I see no one has been asking questions there. So we a while ago we're hiring a lecturer, and we asked for give us a sample lesson, and we just decided to explain blockchains. It was awesome because we got these like 3 or 4 like introduction to blockchain, this topic that we all on the committee felt like we should know about, and it was nice. It was a really nice intro to get that sort of overview from like a couple different perspectives. Spicy linked lists. You know what? Oh, so Brad Bart was on the committee, and after one of these things, he said, "Wait, so they're just linked lists, right?" I was like, "Yes, you've got the exact point. They're linked lists with a like asterisk, linked lists with a little extra." All right. I'm running out of ways to kill time here and things to talk about. So I don't know. Does anybody have anything else? Again, given that I'm not going to tell you what's on the quiz, like with that as a like parameter that I think you know. Any other questions about this stuff? I should have what am I teaching next term? I'm teaching data science 353 in this and the big data lab course. Because who needs free time? For context, like 2 courses is considered full-time for a lecturer, and I'm teaching 3 now and 3 next semester, which is totally reasonable, if not for suddenly putting everything online at the same time. It's been busy, but kind of reasonable. And I've asked this, by the way, I've asked this in other contexts, and I'm going to, I don't really need to deal with it right now in a YouTube chat, but I do have this overall question, which is, okay, so, in the future, when there's, I don't know, vaccine for coronavirus or whatever, and we can all go back to the classroom, should we? Like, how much of what we've learned from online teaching should persist? So I think we should have our courses completely online forever is not the right answer. But I think video lectures work pretty well for at least some people. It is 732. Yeah, thanks, Naughton, if that's how you pronounce that. Yeah, it's the course for the master's in big data students. However many there are, however many of the new master's students can get into the country or city or get a student visa to do the thing remotely. Jürgen, I talked about format of the quiz earlier, but roughly a couple of short answer, a couple of write a Haskell function style of questions. I think if I had to guess right now, just based on what I remember, like I basically don't have a quiz at this point. What I have is a file with a bunch of answers to questions that I have to pick and then write the question to go with them. I think I'm going to end up with probably 3 shorter answer and 2 write a function kind of questions. What was I doing? Oh yeah. Yeah, I do want some kind of, like, I want to answer for myself the so what should still be online, what should be in person, like exams, for example. Damn it, I wish we could have on, like, some kind of on-campus in-person exams in the fall. It seems like that's not going to be allowed, but so yeah, the short answer, they might be questions, yeah, the sort of logical questions. They might be kind of short, like, again, like I think I said earlier, like, you know, write the function definition, that like 2 colons operator. You know, here's a function, what, describe its type kind of question. I would consider a short answer. Which of these functions could be used for, or something like that. I'm finding a hard time kind of getting multiple choice and short answer for this course. It's a little easier for 353, say, if any of you are in there. But yeah, I'll have a few shorter answer and a few write some code kind of questions. Again, I could ask something like, I could ask a, like, write a paragraph question that started with describe. I don't think I'm going to. I think with the shorter time, that works on a final exam where you have time to sort of read it and think about it and come back to it. It's a lot to ask in a shorter quiz, so I'm probably not going to. What are we doing here? It's like 44 people. Oh no, doing it on campus and recorded is a nightmare. Then I'm like left dealing with like the AV people, and trying to get the thing in person recorded. Yeah, like doing the premiere and being available in chat, like technically speaking, it takes twice the time. Like I spend 1 hour recording and 1 hour watching. I don't. It's fine. Like, it's not like I'm sitting there actually watching. You know, I have headphones on. I'm keeping a half eye on the chat and kind of doing other stuff. It works. So I think, Mr. Easy Programming, I think I'm gonna have to record the damn things again. You know, I have this, of course, we all have this dream, right, of like, oh, we can just record our lectures one time and then never do anything again and continue to collect a salary. One, I don't like that. I think it's just lazy. 2, I just don't like it. It's I feel like there should be some, like, you are getting a lecture that was made for you, even if it means I end up sitting in the same chair and saying the same thing, you know, 4 months from now. Yeah, it's not so bad. So yeah, so after the sort of quiz deadline in courses, Zygoter, yeah, after that deadline, again, there's a grace period where you can still click the submit button. You can't like load the quiz page, but there is a, like, if you're looking at the page, you can still click submit for a little while. That's recorded. And if it's too long, I'm going to start asking questions and wondering if I should take late marks off or something, but within reason, it's fine. Yeah, I also miss being in school. Like, I know that, well, frankly, like, here's the thing I know that you're watching me right now, of 47 of you or whatever. I also know that I'm not watching you. I don't know what you look like. It's very hard for me to feel like I have a relationship with a class in this context. Other, you know, you're people in a YouTube chat or, you know, wherever it is on your screen. It's nice, I guess, but yeah, it's not the same as actually talking to people and having a, you know, actually in-person interaction with them. I have, when being contrary, when talking to some colleagues, I did ask, like, wait a minute, do we want to form these bonds with the students? Is that for us or for them? And I completely derailed the conversation. But that's the thing, if it's for you, and I do think it is, like, I think you should have some kind of relationship with your instructors, even if it's not you sit down and talk about your hopes and dreams or whatever. I do think there's some value to that interaction. I don't mind being a YouTuber, I guess. It's a little, I don't know, I miss other rooms besides this one. And I have been saying this to colleagues a lot of like, no, we're Twitch streamers now. Like, you don't go to the educational literature. Look at like streaming tutorials. It's just that PowerPoint's a crappy video game. We're just video game streamers of a really bad video game. That's the way to look at this problem. And here I am with like a really bad video game streaming. Anyway, I feel like pretty much I've been dragged completely off topic here, which implies that probably running low on questions. So, oh my God, something happened in Piazza and it's unrelated. I will answer. Somebody asked about Racket. I will answer that. But yeah, I guess I'm going to say last call here pretty soon if you have questions. Otherwise, I'm going to end the stream real soon now. No, I just want all. I like me rice. Dear, I like me rice. Here's what I want. I just want to have enough subscribers that I can monetize and then force you to watch an ad for like Chevy trucks or whatever before the lecture. I'll get a millionth of a cent. It'll be really funny for me. I won't actually do that, by the way. I don't need that. I don't need YouTube ad revenue. It's fine. Yeah, so this video, as I understand this live stream that I'm doing right now, which is minimally, I do think it's being recorded by YouTube, and I think I have to flip a switch and it'll be available after, and probably at the same link. Do I think that's a really good question, Naughton? Do I think we'll have a Q&A before the next quiz? I don't know. I'm not a Chevy guy. That's just, it seems to be the thing that is advertised to me on YouTube the most. Apparently I'm in some demographic. Look, this is Twitch. Like, what's the difference between this and Twitch other than like people know what YouTube is and I'd have to explain what Twitch is. Oh yeah, I could have like channel memberships and that'd be great. I could have a Patreon. I could do that right now. That would be unfortunate, unethical. Yeah. Yeah, probably unethical to have a Patreon. Anyway, again, since I feel like we're well and off topic here. Really, the chat's not as toxic on Twitch. Anyway, y'all have been well behaved. I'm not worried about that. Anyway, I'm not gonna. Jan, just stop. I'm gonna stop there, I think. Again, like we'll be there on Piazza if there are questions between now and Thursday. Otherwise, yeah, poor starving university prof making public sector salaries. I actually literally have a mortgage check on my desk right beside me right now. Anyway, so I'm going to stop the stream there. Lovely to chat with you in real time, even though I don't, it doesn't feel particularly real time for me just because I'm just seeing chat things. But yeah, so good luck on Thursday. Again, if there's questions between now and then. Oh, I guess the other thing I have to say by email is like, if there are questions during the quiz, we'll keep an eye on like email and Piazza or something. You can ask a private question there. But for the most part, I think it's pretty much on rails from my point of view. At the time you go, you answer the questions, you click submit, and we do some marking. So yeah, good luck on Thursday. I'm going to stop there and have a good week and weekend otherwise.